Hello, I'm Dr. Roberting and welcome to video 3. In this video we're going to cover a lot of things, and if you've actually stumbled across this video and you haven't seen videos 1 and 2 and you would like to subscribe, please click on the link below. You can also subscribe by going to www.themillionairesatanist.com, and when you go over, you'll see the page and there'll be all sorts of descriptions and things and interesting things that you'll find out about this video series, as well as once you do subscribe, you'll be able to get access worksheets and download different worksheets with exercises in them that will enable you to do the exercises and actually practically apply some of the information you're going to get through these videos. I wrote the book and developed The Millionaire Satanist in 2013 because after many years of achieving success in my own life, I decided to share uh, practical concepts, you might say, that have worked for me time and time again with those who have the ambition, will, and intellect to achieve their desires. The culmination or review of the material in The Millionaire Satanist is represented in the 13 Satanic Rules of Business. These rules are the foundation on which my success and, with some work, your success can be achieved. The 13-part video series, which you're actually watching, discusses the 13 rules and how you can apply them to your benefit. As I said, this is video number 3, so we're going to deal with the third rule of satanic business, which is never trust, depend upon, or believe in anyone, any entity, or anything 100%, for it will always be your downfall. Now, everyone has limitations. Early on, we discussed actually, in I believe the second and the first video, we discussed the first satanic rule of business in the first video actually on the subject of survival. You had the opportunity to download a worksheet and do an exercise that gave you a unique insight into your own limitations. Knowing your own limitations allows you to work within them and thus, in reality, seldom encounter them as barriers to your own survival. In this discussion of the third rule of not believing in or depending upon anyone or anything 100%, we will examine the concept of limitations, or of the limitations rather, of others. It is important to know the limitations of any individual you're considering for or having a serious business or personal relationship with. It's even more important not to forget their limitations. Relationships break down when one party in the relationship tends to have unreasonable expectations of the other party, given that party's limitations. Gee, I sound like a lawyer there for a second. Anyway, having an unreasonable expectation of the individual sets that person up to fail. And when they do, all too often, the failure is associated with malice rather than ignorance, which fosters feelings of betrayal, disrespect, lack of appreciation, and, yes, a feeling of discomfort. As well, an overall feeling of embarrassment may be felt, which is often subconsciously covered up and transferred into feelings of anger and resentment. All this for what, when you really think about it? If, take for instance, you knew and never forgot the limitations of a person, we'll say John, then this whole drama could have easily been avoided and the relationship would still exist between you and John intact. As well, after the fact, you may typically expect an apology from John, but apology for what? If John apologizes to you, what are they really apologizing for? The reality of the matter is they are apologizing for being themselves, following their own natural instincts within their own limitations. In the end, no apology is going to change John nor stop them from being themselves in a similar situation in the future of the relationship, whether it's a business or a personal relationship that you have with them. It is far better to accept, know, and never forget the limitations of the individuals with whom you have relationships with, even if they're casual relationships or they're business colleagues, personal, intimate colleagues. It's a good thing to not forget their limitations, actually to know their limitations as well, first of all. In this way, you will not place them in situations of which, despite their best efforts, they will fail you, nor will you have an unreasonable expectation of the individual themselves. To do otherwise actually will be at your own self-inflicted peril. It's really your own fault when you really think about it. Uh, you established a certain, you might say, expectation of them that they could not meet, and perhaps whether it be pride or whether it be ego or whether it be just any other emotion, the individual didn't really want to let you down, so they're not going to be straight with you, giving you the straight goods that they could not deliver. Or maybe they are a highly motivated individual, which there's nothing wrong with being highly motivated, but perhaps they, in being so motivated, they were a bit out of touch with reality and they could not deliver on the mark. So this is very important. I have a saying. I say, I never forgive and I never forget. And some people find that very harsh, but the reality is, okay, let me explain this. I never forgive and I never forget. I never forgive a person for being who they really are, because what's the point? They'll go back to being who they are anyway. And I never forget who they are and what their limitations are. In this way, I don't put myself in a situation where I have unreasonable expectations of them, or I put them in an uncomfortable and an unfair situation where they feel they have to deliver. This is where, when we actually say in the third rule of Satanic business, never trust, depend upon, or believe in anyone, any entity, or anything 100%, for it to always be your downfall, is basically saying understand that people have limitations. Businesses, organizations have limitations. So as a result, you have to understand what these limitations are and work within them. When you work within the limitations of an individual, and even work within the limitations of yourself, and we do have limitations, when you work within these things, you don't realize that there are any limitations. You can actually go beyond those limitations because you can build other plans to do workarounds and surpass that particular stumbling block that you have. So this is very, very critical. Never trust, depend upon, or believe in anyone, any entity, or anything 100%, for it will always be your downfall. And, I might add, never forgive, never forget. Never forgive someone for being who they really are, and never forget their own limitations. But you must establish what their limitations are before you start any type of business relationship with them, or actually before you actually get to the point where they become an important part of your plan or what you want to do. Anyway, so that is video number 3. Please download the worksheet. There's a link actually below or in this email with this video, so that you can do the exercises and get a better grasp on the concept we just discussed. And I look forward to seeing you and speaking with you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed, as I said, please go to www.themillionairesatanist.com.